What has been your biggest fuck up leading up to this point in life? Losing friends because I didn't put effort into maintaining the relationship. Nobody tells you when you're a kid just how hard it is to make new friends once you're past your college years. Me too. And I was very self-conscious of how clingy, needy I could be, and I overcompensated by being distant and cool and unbothered. I hope 2020 will be a year of new friendships for you. Edit, I'm a little bit overwhelmed by the replies. So many of us in the same boat. Some can let go and move on, some are still plagued by those decisions. Sometimes I even avoid my parents' calls because I don't want them to think I can't be independent or worry them over me not adjusting. Sometimes I get a text and sit on it for hours so that the other person won't be burdened into an immediate conversation. But baby steps, guys. Tomorrow if I smile at you and you don't smile back, I'm not going to second guess and ponder over it. I'll keep greeting you with a smile. Took a very large dose of a research chemical thinking it'd be like acid, went clinically insane for like a year and require inpatient hospitalization. Took me 2 years after that to build my life up and have a career, but I was never totally the same. Such is life. Bombs, nasty stuff at high doses. I had a relatable experience in college. Was sold to me as LSD and took my usual 3-blotter dose expecting 8 to 12 hours of decent visuals, and instead wound up in what amounted to a 32-hour coma, curled up on the floor in unnatural positions experiencing full-on ego death. Spent the next 2 years believing I had discovered the meaning of life and wanted everyone to know the universe was shaped like a bundle of twine. Luckily it was boulder, so I fit right in. It's been almost 7 years and I've recovered, but sometimes the thought still crosses my mind that I must have died that night, and the rest of my experience since then has just been part of the trip. I've learned not to place any abstract meaning on anything I experience anymore, keeps me from thinking too much about it. Being a floater. Meaning being friends with multiple friend groups in life without really being a solid part in any one. Left with none eventually. I don't claim to be an expert, but my advice is to change the focus from trying to get others to invite me to trying to be the person who invites everyone. My experience has been that most people want to be part of a group but lack the confidence or initiative to make it happen, so there are tons of people out there, like yourself, hoping other people will invite them to things. Might as well be the one doing the inviting. Also, there will absolutely be lots of people with whom you just don't click, and that's fine. You don't need to, or want to, be close friends with everyone. But you won't find close friends without striking out with a lot of other people first, and you can't strike out unless you're stepping up to the plate. So decide on something you enjoy doing, and invite people to do it. Repeat until you have a decent group of friends that consistently like doing those same things you do. Getting married to the wrong person. It led to a lengthy divorce in which time my ex tanked me financially. It took me years to recover. Kid with wrong person. Really ends your life for the most part. Starting to smoke. I was a super heavy smoker. I was driving home from a charity event for American Cancer Society. I recognized the irony, and I stopped at a rest stop to grab coffee. I was having a cigarette and a lady who had, barely, survived lung cancer came up to me in the parking lot and asked me to quit. She said, "I wish someone just came up to me and asked me to quit, so that is what I am doing for you. Please quit before it's too late." And so I stopped at the drugstore and got the patch. The process is uncomfortable and it took me a year of using it to finally come off of it, but it's been 6 years since I have had a cigarette. Please quit before it's too late. I used to work for a business that provided service for people with disabilities. Basically it was state-funded service which was like public transportation for those who cannot use public transportation. I can give more details about it if you ask about it. We also did some return trips from hospital to home, for people who had gone to the hospital on an ambulance, and now needed a ride home, but needed a wheelchair, which they did own but it was back at their home. So regular taxi was out of the question. So we had a spare wheelchair in the car for these cases. One evening I went to pick up an elderly man from a hospital with the car's chair. As I arrived, I found out that the man was amputee, missing a leg more precisely, and probably over 80 years of age. Despite this, he was in good spirits, talkative, and the trip home went well. We were talking about things happening in the world and he was quite well aware of what's going on in the world, cracking jokes and so on. However, when we arrived at the given address, the man seemed slightly confused where we were. He claimed that he has never seen this place, so he cannot live here. I double-checked the address, from GPS, and from him, and that was correct. However, the man was adamant that he didn't know where we were at the time. I took him onto the lift that was at the back of the car. I thought that the darkness outside, and tinted windows on the back of the car just confused him. Yet on the lift where he could see the building, he didn't recognize the place, which confused me. Commence the fuck up. I had been instructed that I should never let my hand off the wheelchair if it's on the lift, yet the confusion that the man caused, I did exactly that. I locked the brakes on the wheelchair so he wouldn't accidentally roll off from the lift, and told him to wait a couple seconds, so I checked the list of names on the stairwell, just to see do I find his last name on the list. I managed to take 2 steps away from the car and wheelchair when I realized that I simply cannot leave the man as he is right now. I either have to put him back into the car, or down on the ground. As I turned around, I see the man leaning back, pushing the wheelchair's front tires off the lift, and his hands were supporting him from the knobs that release the brakes. And just at that moment the brakes released. The man fell head first about 2.5 feet, 75 centimeters, onto the ground. I of course immediately called an ambulance, and a couple minutes later the man's wife came to see what was the hold-up. The man passed away 2 days later in the hospital, cause of death, blunt force trauma on the back/top of the head, which led to brain swelling. I was prosecuted and deemed guilty of, not sure about the legal terms here, causing of death, involuntary manslaughter. And just to make clear, no, I have never been in jail, and the sentence was just €2,000 fine. I could have continued in that work, but for a while I had to get away from it. I just couldn't do it. Edit, before this blows up any further. This happened around 2004 or early 2005, anyway over 15 years ago. I got over it ages ago, and no, I didn't need any therapy with it. Edit 2, yes, it was correct address. I think that the man had early stages of dementia/Alzheimer's or something like that, and he just didn't recognize his home. Staying with someone for way too long because I thought I could help them. I was 25 when I met her. She was broken and very needy. She had a lot of issues with herself, mainly she always felt insecure and inadequate. For those times when she was okay, everything was amazing and she was the best person to be around with. But those times were rare. She was jealous about anyone and everyone. I didn't even hang around my friends anymore because she would make me feel guilty later on and she could never get along with them. I always thought I could help her, but only after everything fell apart did I realize that in my effort to always be there for her I broke myself. We broke up 2 years ago. I'm now 33 and just starting to fix relationships that I've abandoned because I was too focused on her. I don't blame her at all because that was my choice, but it's been hard. Quitting a job before I had another one, long story, which led to my savings being drained and my credit card debt soaring through the roof. I've recovered about a year later, but my savings are basically non-existent as I spent all of my excess paying down debt. I just quit my job with nothing lined up. I was about to kill myself when I realized that if I just quit at least I'd be able to be alive still and it might be worth it. I'm still depressed as fuck, but at least I don't have that shitty fucking job. You did the right thing. Baby steps. You looked out for yourself, you said my life will be better without a shitty fucking job, and now you can move forward and focus on what makes you feel whole. Also remember, it's okay to feel sad and depressed and happy. These are all parts of being human. We are brainwashed to think being happy is the default. That's not true. Happiness is just one component of life, and being a whole person means experiencing all emotional states. This is a win, buddy. Now go live your life with a new chapter. If you like the content, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the like button.